as we were talking about earlier, the Biden administration out campaigning on abortion. I mean, they've already released their first national ads. They want to make abortion the number one issue in the 2024 election cycle. Well, there's only one problem. The American people, in fact, as I mentioned just a moment ago with Dr. Marshall, a Harris poll, Harvard Harris poll released yesterday, shows that immigration is now the top concern for voters, up 7 points since last month to 35%, with inflation being at second, 32%. 77% of voters believe the Biden administration should make a deal with Republicans to increase border security, including 65% of Democrats. But they want to talk about abortion. Join me now to discuss this issue and how the Republicans can counter this message and actually take the truth to the American people is another doctor, Dr. Andy Harris. He serves on the House Appropriations Committee and is a member of the GOP Doctors Caucus and co-chair of the House Pro-Life Caucus. He represents the 1st Congressional District of Maryland. Dr. Harris, welcome back to the program.
Good to be with you, Tony.
So the Biden administration making abortion their number one issue. They got everybody in the administration out campaigning on this. I assume that they're doing this because they want a repeat of what happened in the midterm elections, where Republicans were kind of silent on the issue and let the Democrats define it. But it appears to me, Dr. Harris, that more Republicans are starting to get their footing. And they're just going back to where we were, 45 years ago, talking about protecting the unborn, a message that connects with the American people. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. And the other message that we're going to send is that, we support the pregnancy resource centers, which are tremendously popular throughout the country, which give women a true choice, which give women the support they need for their unborn and their born children. And we think that's totally consistent with the pro-life movement. It's an important part of it. And surprisingly enough, last week, the Democrats voted against even supporting pregnancy resource centers.
Right. That bill was on the House floor last week.
That's right. And, look, 83% of Americans support pregnancy resource centers. But, the Democrats just don't believe in them. But I think that, again, the American people have it right on that. And the Republicans are going to be talking about it this year.
I want to commend you for leading out on that, because I do think that, Republicans were caught flat-footed after the Dobbs decision. And they, quite frankly, they just forgot what they were doing before, and that was protecting the unborn. This is not about abortion. It's about unborn children being protected and their mothers as well, not being victimized by the abortion industry.
That's right. Look, we've always held that the women should have the ability to carry that infant to delivery, and the extremists on the other side believe, on the other hand, that you should be able to abort that child up until the time of delivery. That is the extreme position. There's no question about it. A very small minority of Americans think that a woman should be able to abort a child for any reason up until the moment of birth.
Let's talk about a point of consensus, because there's a lot of discussion nationally, in the presidential race that, some say, there's no agreement on where we should draw the line on abortion. But isn't there agreement that Americans should not be forced to fund something they're morally opposed to? I mean, isn't that a place of consensus?
There's certainly the majority of Americans believe that, and a large majority believe that, especially, we shouldn't be doing it overseas because the Biden administration is funding abortions in other countries as well. Again, these are majority issues. Pregnancy resource centers, huge majority. Overseas funding of overseas abortions, a large majority. A majority who disagree with funding abortions here in the country. And a majority of Americans believe that some limits should be placed on abortions. They should not be available up until the moment of birth for any reason.
But that's the Democratic Party's platform. It is abortion until birth and taxpayer funded. They want you to fund it. That is their stated position. That's not an exaggeration. That is what they're calling for.
That's absolutely right, and that's what they've been voting for in Congress. The bill when Nancy Pelosi, before she left office, they brought the bill to the floor, and the bill would allow abortion up until the moment of birth for any reason,
And
sex selection, any reason whatsoever.
and that's what President Biden is calling for. That's what he called for yesterday from the White House. He wants to codify Roe v. Wade, which is essentially the bill that Nancy Pelosi put forward, and it eradicates all pro-life laws in every state across the nation.
That's absolutely right. So what we have to ask is exactly why a woman should have the right to terminate a pregnancy in its ninth month because she doesn't like the sex of the child. I mean, that's exactly how extreme the Democrats are and how extreme Joe Biden is. And we have to talk about that. And again, we have to talk about the fact that we're the ones who support a real alternative, a real choice for women, pregnancy resource centers.
I mean, Dr. Harris, it doesn't seem like it's even close competition as to who's extreme. The Biden administration Democrats are extreme. Abortion until birth, funded by taxpayers. That's outrageous.
That's absolutely right, and that's exactly what they support, and that's what when they had the majority in the House, those are the votes they took.
Wow, amazing. And the American people need to know that. Dr. Andy Harris, always good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tony.